Hello, George Freestone returning with the next episode. I think it's number 12 in our continuing series of chapters telling the story of my wife and my visit to all 30 current Major League ballparks. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a game in Pittsburgh. Yes, I'm all decked out with Pittsburgh garb, both cap and jersey. And that's also a Pittsburgh Pirate mascot behind me. Actually, two mascots. Um, the uh, the mascot for the Pirates is a parrot, and you can see to my right in this shot, Mr. Parrot with the gun. Mrs. Parrot is behind me, and there she is with lipstick and a skirt and a necklace. And there's a young miss there in the center holding what I think the parrot is shooting into the stands, which is a hot dog. So, yes, the 2014 Pirates had multiple parrots as mascots. And if I were to ask you what character the Pirates had run around the park in their seventh or whatever inning stretch race, what would you guess? Well, the answer is pierogies. So the Pirates have pierogi characters run around the park to try and generate some enthusiasm during the seventh inning stretch. Our visit to Pittsburgh followed our visit to the Nationals Park. We had driven to Washington, D.C., spent some time there, enjoyed the city and the game, then drove northwest to Pittsburgh, spent half a week there, saw the game here with the Cardinals, and then enjoyed much of what the city of Pittsburgh has to offer. With that, I think I'm going to try and share my desktop and call up the slide that we're going to talk from. And I will maximize it so it's easiest for you to see. This was back in 2014 in May of that month. And PNC Park, which you can see during the daylight hours here, we had very good seats. We were just, I don't know, 10 or so rows back from the Cardinals dugout. Is really a beautiful park. It's right along the river, near where the convergence of the three rivers are. And in the backdrop, you have the city skyline. You actually had the Renaissance Hotel, which is where we stayed, which is also visible. It's, I think, right here. And John, I did try and make the mouse a little bit larger, so hopefully you can see that. And PNC Park, beautiful park that it is, happens to be both my wife Carol and my second favorite park. So we converge on what we think is second best. However, we each have independent choices, different choices for what we think is best. And you're going to hang on to hear a little bit more about what those parks are. We haven't quite got there yet. So stay tuned and we'll see those. Just as in many of the prior slides, I have a link here for photos that we took from the trip, both of Pittsburgh, the park, the environs, as well as the game. And here you can see how close we were. As I said, we were just a little bit back from the Cardinals dugout. The second link I'll call your attention to is the box score. And we've skipped over there, but it's really a terrific resource to relive the game. It includes the box score that you might have been accustomed to seeing, but it also includes the play-by-play, so you have a chance to go through and relive all of the plays that actually took place. And if you take a look at this particular box score, or this particular score in the lower right, you'll see that it was a close game. The Cardinals ended up winning 6-5. Both teams had 11 hits, so a lot of offense was out there, which is good. And if you replay just to the beginning of the eighth inning, the score then was 4-3 Cardinals. In the top of the eighth inning, the Cardinals scored two. Pirates in the bottom scored one. In the ninth inning, Cardinals top of the inning didn't score at all. So it was still 6-4 in the bottom of the ninth, still exciting. The Pirates and Andrew McCutchen, who you see here as a Pirate before he became a Philly, um, drove in one run, but that's unfortunately all they could get by. So the final score there was 6-5. And at the time, the pitcher for the Cardinals was, I think, for the Pirates was Charlie Morton. And I think at this point in the season, he was 0-5, so he was struggling a little bit. And I don't have a picture of him, but moving along on our bullets on the slide, one of the things that's very attractive about PNC Park are the statues that they have. And there are 4 statues in total. I have 2 that are pictured on this particular slide. I'm pretty sure this is Bill Mazeroski. And he, of course, is celebrated for his role in helping the Pirates win the 1960 World Series versus those Yankees. So that was Bill Mazeroski. The 2 that I don't have pictured are Honus Wagner and Willie Stargell, but you can see them in that link. I do have photos of them. I just don't have them on this particular slide. So they are available there, Willie Stargell and Honus Wagner. And the final statue that exists is Roberto Clemente. And Roberto, quite a player, and someone I'll just spend a moment talking a little bit about. Roberto was from Puerto Rico. He was born in 1934, and he died a very young man at age 38 in 1972. What made that so tragic and meaningful is he was actually traveling to the victims of a earthquake, I think in Nicaragua, when there was a plane crash that he ultimately died in. Roberto is a Hall of Famer. The bridge that we walked over to get from the hotel, the Renaissance, to the park is actually pictured here. It's also named the Roberto Clemente Bridge. You can see that bridge right here as well, a little bit of it. And one more thing I want to mention about Roberto Clemente is he finished with exactly 3,000 hits. So Roberto was quite a charismatic and generous man. He was someone to look up to. He was a super baseball player. And the last thing that I'll show you is I'll try and show you. Here we go. Yeah, where is it? Right here. Um, yeah, my jersey. And if I stood up, it wouldn't be as clear as this. But this jersey is indeed a jersey of Roberto's number here. So quite a player, quite someone to look up to. All right, let's get back to Pittsburgh here. Let's maximize this screen. Okay, let's talk a little bit about food. first, let me say a couple of things about one of the noteworthy Pittsburgh icons, the Primanti Brothers sandwich shops. And it's a chain, but it originated in Pittsburgh, I think during the Depression, with one of the Primanti brothers having a small cart that made sandwiches like what I'm going to tell you about. Those sandwiches are something to behold and may not be the healthiest of sandwiches, but you can find on Italian bread, um, first of all, tomatoes, coleslaw, French fries, your meat of choice from burger to sausage or whatever, something like that, and then provolone cheese. So, Romanti Brothers are at the park. You can see a little icon up here from one of the food vendors at PNC Park. We actually went to this one, which is downtown, near the hotel, near the park, so in the downtown area. But I will point out that at PNC Park, I kept my eyes peeled. My wife prefers gluten-free. And so, indeed, there were some gluten-free food options at the park. It wasn't necessarily, again, the best offerings of gluten-free options. And for that, you're going to have to stay tuned as well. So, other things that I'll talk just a little bit about. Um, we visited Jerry's Records, and you can see that here. It's really an icon in the Pittsburgh area. It's located in Squirrel Hill. Many who travel in on the Pennsylvania Turnpike are right there with the Squirrel Hill tunnels. You get off, I guess, and take 376 in and go through those tunnels. They're iconic. Jerry boasts 500,000 records at that site, and indeed we checked that out as we were spending some time in Pittsburgh. We enjoyed seeing the Cathedral of Learning from the University of Pittsburgh, and I always thought that reminded me of the building from Ghostbusters. But indeed, that was not the building that was used, but it sure reminds me of that. And also then the PPG Center in the lower left here, they have a beautiful glass set of building as well as a courtyard with fountains and everything. It's really a nice area to visit and see. One of the restaurants that we enjoyed was the Monterey Bay Fish Grotto from Mount Washington. And you can see, I think, a view that we had from that particular restaurant right here. So it was up on the hill overlooking Pittsburgh. And PNC Park, actually, I think, is a little bit up on the left there. Lots of bridges in Pittsburgh. I will point out, I'll take a little bit of a diversion. This building right here, this tall black building, is now labeled UPMC, the medical insurance, I think. And you can see it lit up here in the center left bottom. And what's significant about that is, as I was a student at Lehigh University in 1975 looking for a job, I interviewed in Pittsburgh. And at the time, it wasn't the UPMC building, it was the US Steel building. And at the time also, they had a very classy restaurant at the top of that building called Top of the Triangle. And I enjoyed a wonderful meal at the top of the triangle there. All right, what else do we have to talk about here? this statue is also in Mount Washington, up on the top of the hill. You can see a little bit of that sense here. And this is actually our first president, George Washington, as well as a leader of one of the native Indians from 1970. It's this point of view statue. And I think this is, although they look rather aggressive, in theory, they are each extending peaceful implements rather than weapons as they try and discuss the white man's encroachment into native Indian territory. So that's what that's all about. And again, I mentioned it before, but we had a lovely stay at the Renaissance Hotel. I'm pretty sure that during this visit, we also took in the play Seussical. And with that, I think I've talked about everything that's on this slide. I want to thank you for your attention for this episode, and we'll be back soon with our next visit. Thank you very much for your attention.